And we will start with a silent prayer of a minute now. All of you just maintain silence for a minute. Thank you. A very warm welcome and greetings to our chief guest and the trainer of the day, Rotarian Fredricks John, who is a doctorate holder in management studies. And in a nutshell, in his summary, Sir has mentioned, from not having the money to ride a bus to school to driving a Benz to work. That is his one-line statement. I just repeat that again. It's an inspiration when I was reading it. From not having the money to ride a bus to school to driving a Benz to work. That's his summary. A visionary leader who loves to be in the company of people who love success, a role model by nature, friend to many, avid traveler, biker, adventure lover, crazy about Harley Davidson, Ferrari, and Manchester United. Gives back to the society through activities involving his team and Rotary International. Proud academic director and senior executive leadership program alumni of the renowned Harvard Business School, Boston. And he brings 20 years of experience in people management, strategic operation management, quality assurance, business process re-engineering, customer delight, risk management, and revenue management. A proficient in managing large multicultural teams and multiple processes, locations for running successful operations and experience of developing procedures, service standards for business excellence. Planning and implementing is core area, effective control measures to reduce cost and operations as well. Excellent communication, possessing excellent communication, interpersonal relationship management, and problem solving skills, as he is the background with English literature degree and masters in people management as well as MBA, Master of Business Administration from renowned institutions. Also is a result-driven end-to-end multi-level, multi-location contact center operations and skill improving process managing tasks, quality control, team management, directives, all those is some other areas of expertise. And he has also awarded and honored with awards like Role Model and the Exemplary Leader of the Year 2018, presented by ET Now, Visionary Leader of the Year 2019, Sustainability Champion of the Year 2019. That's where the solar system that the whole nation has looked at our chief guest and their contribution to the community. Business Leadership Award for Excellence and Leadership in Outsourcing. Dream Companies to Work for the Business Process Outsourcing Sector 2019, presented by ET Now. And also he has got certifications in Black Belt, Functional Black Belt, Information Mapping, World-Class Customer Service, Online Proficiency Assessment and Test for Independent Directors Data Bank, Lean Six Sigma, Green Belt, Professional Certifications, and so on. Our chief guest is also having experience and now currently associated with Personiv, which is in the title Park, Coimbatore. He is the Vice President, Executive Vice President and Site Head for about more than 10 years with that institution. Started from manager till now working as Vice President and Executive Vice President. Prior to that, Sion Softwares, he was working as manager operations about like 4.5 years. Prior to that, Wipro, business process outsourcing for about 4.5 years. And prior to all, Eli Lilly and Company, territory manager, worked about 3 years. So with that, and also he was having some hospitality experience working with Fortune, Jenny Residency for about 3.5 years. Having education with a bachelor's in English literature, master in business administration, and as well master in personnel and industry relations, personnel management and industry relations, and all those with that, and renowned Commonwealth University's Doctorate Award in Management and General Management and Business Administration. And the renowned Harvard Business School alumni has completed Senior Executive Leadership Program in Business Administration and Management in general. So that was in 2019. With that, and he has also that awarded, the recent one was 2019, the Champion of the Year, Sustainability Champion of the Year, which I was just stressing in the morning in the earlier session. So, which is what for the solar contribution, so social responsibility contribution. That's the reason we have initiated this topic. When we were talking about this today, in the recent classes in the past, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, about CSR, corporate social responsibilities, we were talking about social obligation, which is that economical and legal commitment to the stakeholders, first thing. The second thing is about social responsiveness, where and when emerges something where you respond to the community and serve the society, which is what we discuss about social responsiveness. And almost all the above, looking after the social responsibility, which is the continual effort for people, for the business, for the community to sustain and run what is given to the community. That is what all about sustainability, sustainability in corporate social sustainability championship. That is where our chief guest got that award in 2019, Sustainable Champion of the Year 2019. So with that introductory note and a lot more we can share about Dr. Fred, and we call him Dr. Fred, and Fredricks John, his full name is all about, and he is associated with us for last 4-5 years. We are working for here and there some projects, but not in close door, but we have some connections. And with us, after I think long time, I lost touch, and I just put a note in social media, and with wholeheartedly and expanded and given his whole arms and said, yes, I'm ready to do for students. That is that initiative, that contributions, and that whole, the good soul, we could say, more than all. He wanted to support that youth, that young community, that contribution he wants to do. Having this experience, that academic background, and also the director awarded, that I'm not sure about MIOD, that Institute of Directors, the best director award he has obtained, which I'm not able to get some details. Maybe our chief guest could brief little on that. I'm not sure. Please, my apologies, sir, for that, for not stressing that part here. And and I met our chief guest like 5 years back in his office, in Personiv office, Title Park. It was a great occasion. Very simple personality, but when we was driving to our campus, and students were admiring about the style. I know that is about leadership is all about, right? That's where he has got it from that Harvard Business School, the world-renowned business school. He was there, right? We all just dream and we can only think about it, and he was there, over there, and spend over time in Boston, Connecticut. When I was there in Connecticut, I was just thinking to visit, but I was unable to do. But anyway, now a person, he's here with us with all this exposure, experience, and qualification. And without any further delay, on behalf of the chairman, Sugumaran sir, and our trustee and our management dignitaries and faculty team and fellow students of Adithya School of Business Management, we invite and welcome you, sir, for this occasion. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And it's over to you, sir, now.
Thank you, Dr. Sundar. You were magnanimous in introducing me, and thank you for the kind words. I don't know if I am worthy of all the praise that you bestowed upon me, but I'll try and make up for it. I still don't know the exact background of all that you have gone through in the past classes, and I'm not sure about what you have learned on CSR. So I'll just rush through a few slides that I have that's on CSR per se, and then concentrate more on the governance part. Yes, all the bio that doctor talked about is true. MIOD is just a membership, sir. I am a member of the Institute of Directors of India, and this is a global organization where independent directors get certified to be part of any corporate board. The reason why certification is important is because of all the issues that we've been having with boards in the recent past, very recently with Tata and Sons, where we had the issue between Ratan Tata and Cyrus. Um, and that is one. Second is how Jet Airways, which was doing so great, could go down, and go out of business. Similarly, Kingfisher. So these are some of the corporate issues of mismanagement that came to the fore and forced directors to be certified so that they can have a say in the board. Usually what happens is in India, most of the boards are run by families. You take any big board, for example, Tata's, it's just like the father, son, grandson, they're all part of the board. And very near, if you take, there are several companies in Coimbatore, family run businesses, where the managing director is the father, the executive director is the son, and the other directors are the wife and mother who don't know anything about what's going on in the business. And whatever decision is taken on the board is just for the sake of paperwork and submitting to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And suddenly, when you bring public in, when public becomes the stakeholder, they are left in the lurch when family run businesses um, are. Sorry, that's a notification. Okay. When family run businesses take their own decisions without involving the majority stakeholder, which is the public, and institute of directors was formed to certify such directors. And we will see when we go through the slides that the board has an important role to play in every aspect of governance, be it in the running of the company and all other operational affairs, but more importantly so with respect to corporate social responsibility. Um, okay, we'll come back to that in a bit. Just a little bit more about me. I'm from Personiv. We are a 35-year-old BPO organization. We started off in Manila, doing data entry, legal transcription, medical transcription, and stuff like that. And then in 2008, we started doing graphic designing out of Coimbatore. And I've been involved with Persona for the past 10 years. In fact, in October 2020, I completed my 10 years with Persona. Um, I have about 25 years of experience as of now. But imagine 10 years back, I only had 15. And even then, I was not happy with the way the Coimbatore site was run. There were several things that were not in order, and I had to make right a few things. Then, because I was successful in doing that here, the CEO and the chairman of the board asked me personally to go over to Manila and manage that site for about 1.5 years. Again, a lot of things that were not right there, and I had to set it right and come back. So in a way, social responsibility is in my DNA, is what I can say, because social responsibility starts from our own office. Um, Being transparent, being correct, being honest. Um, these are all characteristics of a socially responsible organization, because for any organization, the employee is the number one customer. Without the employee, there is no organization. And the well being of the organization is of utmost importance. If that happens, if the employee is taken good care of, then the company survives, and then responsibility is evidence there. Now, in 2010, when I joined Personiv, we used to be called a different name, ASEC at that time. I initiated a project where I asked the 175 employees that were in the company at that time to donate 20 rupees a month out of their own willing. If somebody did not want to do it, that's fine. But then I asked them if they could donate 20 rupees a person. And with that money, we started off the Being Human initiative at Personiv. Today, that 20 rupees has grown. And this year, we're doing a project worth 12 lakhs of rupees by way of two solar power plants. Apart from that, we've done a lot of things. Our employees have contributed to building shelters for tribal people, providing solar powered lamps for those shelters. We are continuing education on a weekly basis through the Rotary Club for 20 weeks now. And At Persona, since it's in the DNA of each and every employee to give back to society, we call it ESR instead of CSR. It involves the engagement of every employee of Personiv, not only in Coimbatore, but in our head office in Austin, our co-locations in Gurugram, uh, near New Delhi, and then in Manila in the Philippines. So we are about 3,000 employees worldwide. All of us are part and parcel of this Being Human initiative. Um, as far as I'm concerned, I joined Rotary about 3 years back because I wanted to ensure that what I'm giving goes to the right persons. And Rotary is the biggest platform that one can get to do good to the society. I'm a major donor, meaning I have contributed monetary benefits to the polio fund. And every year you might have noticed that we would have the national immunization drive on the 17th of or 16th or 17th of January, followed by a second dose in February. This year it has been postponed to the 31st of January because we started the vaccination for COVID-19 on Jan 16. Um, Personiv is a small organization, and Coimbatore office is a standalone location. If you look at Personiv as a whole, yes, we are profitable. We do a lot of turnover and all that. But as an organization, Coimbatore is a standalone company, and we do not fall under the bracket of CSR for a long time. But we still go ahead and give back to the society 2% of our profits every year. And that's something I wanted to share with you. Um, I'm currently the president of the Rotary Club of Coimbatore Green City, and been doing a lot of projects through the Rotary Club as well. And in order to get some branding and get more involvement from the youth in our company, we have started the Rotary Club of Personiv in 2019, and they are thriving well. In fact, during the first year of their existence, they won a platinum citation for the kind of projects they have done. As the head of the organization here in Coimbatore, it's my pleasure to have the Rotractors as part of my organization because I don't have to push them to do what they have to. They come up with projects, and as I mentioned before, these are the people that are doing the week on week teaching for tribal students. The picture that you see there is of tribal students who don't have access to education, especially during the COVID period. You know, since June, no teacher would be there. In fact, there's no school or Palwadi, as you call it, anywhere near the tribal village. So our Rotractors keep going there. They teach them the numbers, the alphabet. So and the children respond as well. So it's become a very good project, sustainable project, because we've done it without any break, even during Diwali, even during New Year, even during Pongal. And all these festivals came during the weekend, but we still made it a point that every Saturday we went there, engaged the children, and we are giving back to the society and thanking them for, uh, you know, thanking, thanking in the sense is paying forward, actually. See, I came up from a very low middle class family. My mom was a teacher. My dad wasn't supporting us at that time. During my school days, when I was supposed to join school in 1980, my mom would earn about 300 rupees a month as a teacher, government pay that was. Um, but there were several people who helped me come up in life, finish my studies and all of that. In the principal of the elementary school that I studied in waived off my fees, and higher secondary school that I studied in, gave me a lot of opportunity to do what I wanted to do. I am a strong believer of um, the real learning happens outside the four walls of the classroom. Yes, of course, you need all the classroom lectures, notes, and concentration to what the teachers are saying. But then your implementation is always outside the four walls of the classroom. And I'm a strong believer of that. So my higher secondary school teachers recognized that in me, and they encouraged me to do things at that time nobody would have dared to do. So there are several people like this that helped me come up in life. In fact, there was a teacher in my 10th standard who paid for my computer science education. That time it was costing about 3,500. In 1991, 92, the only thing you can learn in computers is basic and Lotus 123, I guess. But I did that. Today, you see, my company buys about 1,500 computers, and I employ people in the ITES sector. Um, but when you think of it, uh, will that principal who helped me in the fifth standard care if I paid her back all the fees that she sponsored? No, it would not mean anything to her. The teacher that sponsored my computer science education, will he want that 3,500 rupees back? No, that's not why he gave me that money. That's not why he sponsored my education. What I have to do is pay it forward. The knowledge that I have gained through these experiences, I have to share with others. And that is one reason why we have the ESR, um, or the Being Human initiative at Personiv, why we have Rotary Club of Personiv, and why we do so many projects reaching out to the communities. So that's about a short introduction. And as Dr. Sundar said, yes, I was awarded the Sustainability Award in 2019. Rotary, which is a huge organization, internationally renowned organization, certified with several stars for being governance specific in a lot of areas. In fact, in every area that they venture into. Worldwide, we're renowned for our polio project. Bill Gates and Melinda Gates are also part of this project. For every rupee that we donate to the polio fund, they match it by double. So 1 rupee becomes 3 rupees. And Rotary recognized the CSR activities that I do through Personiv, and awarded me an excellence award. There you see in the middle, the fair person is Gary Huang. He's the trustee chair for the Rotary Fund that manages polio and all other worldwide programs. I was fortunate and privileged to receive the award from him. He's a Taiwanese and sits in the US. The next picture is His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena, the former president of Sri Lanka. He awarded me for, once again, my CSR activities. I went to Colombo last year to collect that award. Um, just to note, I have received awards from two presidents. One is our own Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and of course, that was for academics. And this is the president of Sri Lanka, former president of Sri Lanka for CSR. Next few slides are about all the solar power projects that we've done. In fact, not all of them. I'm just giving you a glimpse because I wanted to chronologically show you what we've done. We have been focusing on old age homes, orphanages, where children are being taken care of. And when we provide a solar power plant, it's just not like, give them breakfast or lunch and then you walk away from there. You invest in 25 years of giving back to that orphanage or old age home. What it does is it provides power from a renewable source, that is the sun, and reduces the electricity board consumption by about 60 to 70% for these homes. So supposing somebody is paying 10,000 as their electricity bill every 2 months, since we have installed the solar power plant, they have to pay just 2,000 rupees. So the rest of the money, which is about 8,000, goes to buying much needed medicine or other groceries that are required to run the facility. So 2015 is when we started doing this, and our first installation was in February 5. In fact, we inaugurated it on February 5, 2016. Every year we have our annual day during the first or second week of February. So when our CEO comes in, we would take him there and inaugurate the power plant. So there you see our CEO with the people who set it up, and then below some of the beneficiaries. We normally avoid taking pictures with the beneficiaries, but some homes allow us to do, so we do that. So this is in 2016. 2017 is Kotalango School, which takes care of physically challenged, mentally challenged people. We can call them differently abled people. And we also provided some equipment that helps in medically, uh, you know, changing their situation that they are in right now. 2017. 2018 is St. Thomas Home. You might have known about the Albania School. Those sisters run this home, and there are several women that are part of this home that have been left alone. Imagine, this is the worst thing you can do to your parents' children. When they have gone through so much in bringing you up, you have to care for them when they are old. See, for me, I want to live by example, and that role model award is not just for namesake. I want to be a role model all the time. Both my parents and my wife's parents are living with me right now, and that is how we need to take care of our parents. And it's very saddening to see women, old women, just left to fend for themselves, and they are picked up from the streets and cared for by these sisters. So we are helping those sisters for the next 20-25 years by providing the solar panel. 2019 is at Little Sisters of the Poor. I have a connection with this institution. This is in Kunur, and they take care of aged people. And since I am from Kunur, I have a connection with them as well. Now, we not only do it in Coimbatore. When I got permission to start this project in 2015, my CEO was so impressed that immediately he said yes. And looking at the response from people that are benefited out of these solar panels, he also gave permission to my other locations to start solar power plants. And that way, I was in Manila in 2019, uh, sorry, maybe earlier than that, to inaugurate a solar power plant along with the site head of Manila and our customers and our head office people. And we've done it in Manila and Gurugram as well. So, in total, along with the one that I inaugurated yesterday at the school where I studied. So this is St. Anthony's Higher Secondary School in Kunnur, where I studied from 6th to 12th. The teachers there were only four of them that taught me that were still with the school, but they were so happy. Although they had retired, they had come in to meet me. All of the teachers had come to meet me along with the 10th and 12th standard students. So it was very heartening to see them all and very satisfying to give back to the school that gave me so much and shaped my future. So that's one thing that's very satisfying when you generally do such projects, and when you're able to do it to somebody who helped you and help them continue the process of helping other students for years to come. It's really satisfying. Now we also do unique projects like I have scaled the three peaks in the Himalayas along with the team of managers from across the globe. We're about 40, 45 managers and heads that gather together and go to do a trek during August or September every year. So we've done three treks in the Himalayas. 2019, my CEO and his reports, nine of us, we scaled Mount Kilimanjaro, and that's the highest I have scaled so far. It's about 19,350 uh, feet or something. So we have done that. And what we did was we raised money while doing that trek and donated about $20,000 to Miracle Foundation. Now, this foundation takes care of orphaned children through the sisters of, I'm sorry, the Franciscan sisters. Why I keep going back to institutions run by sisters or brothers is because of the governance part, and we will come back to that later. Um, I have no problem giving it to institutions run by missionaries because I know very well where the money is going. And these sisters from the Miracle Foundation, they help orphan children, street children that are usually left to fend for themselves, and educate them and give them a bright future. Now, solar panels is not the only thing that we do. At Personiv, we do a lot of blood donation. When we started doing this in 2017, there were about 160 people who turned up from my organization in Coimbatore to donate blood. And we were very selective. The dean from the government um, hospital in Coimbatore, she came and made it very strict. She had selection norms, and we donated about 66 units of blood at that time. But we've been sustainable there as well. We keep giving every 6 months. So in the past 6 months, although we are in a pandemic situation, people were afraid to come outside. There was a lot of need for blood. People undergoing surgeries, and because of COVID, there was a fear that if you go to donate blood, you might contract an infection or contract the virus, things like that. Personiv kept giving back through the Rotary Club, and so far, I think we have given about 50 to 60 units of blood in total in the past 6 months. Um, there are about 391 employees from Personiv that have um, signed a testament saying once they die, their eyes can be donated. And this is recorded with Arundai Hospital. I'm working with another foundation to have organ donation testaments signed as well. See, all of this is coming from the employees. Datri is a stem cell donor registry. When somebody gets cancer, especially kids, you can actually treat them using stem cell therapy. And finding a match to get stem cell. Stem cell is what you get from the bone marrow, and those are cells that can rejuvenate your immune system and fight cancer better. So there are children that suffer from thalassemia, and there are about 300 volunteers who've signed up from Personiv, and they are ready to become donors. Stem cell donation is a big thing because it is painful, but imagine the life of the child who's about to die, and then you give new life to the child, by donating your stem cells. So these are all the projects, or maybe some of the projects. In fact, 2 or 3 years back, I had grown my hair to about 15 inches long, and donated about 14 inches of my hair to a child that was affected by thalassemia and lost her hair. So we made a wig out of the hair that I donated and gave it to her. There were about 55 other girls from my office that donated hair during that drive, and I'm so happy that they came forward. Hair is a very important asset for any woman, I understand. I take the trouble of growing it and then donating it. They had to overcome resistance from their families, and then they donated 14 to 15 inches of hair. So these are some of the projects that Personiv keeps doing. Um, Dr. Sundar was talking about sustainability when he started introducing me. So can any one of you summarize and let me know, what does sustainability mean to you? So do the students have option to unmute and speak?
So I think so, sir. I'm not sure. Anyone can try it, just you can
On the
try it
chat.
out, speak, and see. They are first year students are actually just joined like 2 months back, and they are just going through the fundamental concepts of all these. And
Okay.
that's where we are getting in now.
Okay. All right. So I'll move on with my slide. So what does sustainability mean for every one of us? According to the dictionary, it is the ability to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Now, when CSR started, it wasn't called CSR actually. If you go back and look at the industrial acts, you will surely learn about the Industries Act and all of that. The act specifies a few rules. In fact, some people started doing it before that, and then to just to bring some commonality, we had this law come into force. So let's take, for example, a cement manufacturing factory. Lot of dust is generated from the factory. So people around the factory, because when you have a factory, you need to have people working in the factory, and you have to have quarters to accommodate these people. So people around the factory were usually the families of the employees of that factory. So the owners, in order to maintain employees' attendance, had to do something to take care of their health, because for sure people will get sick because of all the dust that's emanating from a cement factory. So they built a hospital. They employed a doctor, a nurse, and all of that. It used to be a dispensary actually, and then for further treatment you go to a hospital. Then there was a need, when families started settling down, they had children. Now children had to go to schools, and schools would not be anywhere near a cement factory because it was outside of town. So they had to build a school, and then you had to engage the people during their weekly off. how do you do that? These people are not paid so much that they can take a vacation and go out. So they had to invest in recreation facilities and all of that. So this was done by a few of the companies. For example, Jamshedpur started it when the Tata Steels came in. Several cement factories started it. More notably, you will see such facilities in the remote areas of the Nilgiris, where you have several tea estates. There are people plucking tea leaves that are settlers on the hills. So, some kind of facility has to be provided to them in order to keep them there, keep them healthy, and make them work worthy. Because once they fall sick, they won't report to work, and then profits dwindle. It's a cycle actually. So these are some examples of how CSR actually started. And when I think in 2013, our government came up with the CSR Act and made it mandatory for all companies to give back to the society. It's not as if government is washing its hands off from the welfare of, or from its responsibility of taking care of the welfare of its people. But the government also wanted to make sure companies invested in their employees and not run away with all of the profit. And what the government is asking is just 2% of the profit after tax. So that's not a huge amount for some of these companies. And when we talk about CSR, the one thing that comes to mind is sustainable. How sustainable is our project? How sustainable is our social responsibility activity? It's as this definition tells us, it needs to meet the needs of the present people without compromising on the ability of future generations. So when you look at all the projects that I just talked about, and that Personiv is doing, especially the solar power plant project, we take power from the sun and utilize it in order to reduce our consumption of um, resources that are dwindling actually. Of course, there are power generators now that are using coal, or the thermal power stations. Delhi runs on thermal power actually, and that's very dismaying because at one point of time you'll run out of coal, and coal produces carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide that's more dangerous to the environment than anything else. You might have heard about ozone layer depletion and all of that. So taking power from renewable sources like the sun, like the windmills that you have in and around Coimbatore, they keep giving back because it is renewable energy. You're taking power from something that's already existing, just converting that into usable resource instead of depleting natural resources. You're not cutting down trees, you're not digging up coal, you're not exhausting the petroleum resources that we have. Now, India is coming in big. In fact, most recently, I read in the news that in two-thirds of all the car sales that happened in the last quarter for Tata Motors came from electric car sales. Without a noise, Tata has started a revolution to electrify our automobiles. And two-thirds of their sales last quarter was from EVs. So that is sustainability. And when you have EVs being charged by solar power, nothing like it. That's the best thing that can happen to us. So, when we talk about sustainability, we also need to talk about sustainable development goals. Now, there are 17 such goals that UN has, in a meeting, decided to implement. So, when you look at the slide right now, it says our goal around the world is to eradicate poverty, to make sure every child is fed, um, provide good health and well being for everyone, provide quality education, provide gender equality, um, clean water and sanitization, affordable and clean energy, that is the renewable energy that I was talking about, decent work and economic growth for all employees, industry, innovation, and infrastructure growth, reduced inequalities, um, same rank, same pay kind of a thing, sustainable cities and communities. That's part of the smart city projects that we are seeing right now. Coimbatore is also executing that project. Responsible consumption and production. Um, the reason why this is come in is just because you have a lot of wheat, you can just throw it away. Like the US used to do it, they grew acres and acres, maybe lakhs of acres of wheat and started selling it to India. In fact, at one point of time when Mrs. Indira Gandhi was Prime Minister of India, she refused to accept the free wheat that we got from US, and all of it was dumped in the sea. But it started a new revolution. Fish fed on that wheat, and we had an amazing catch that year. It was a revolution, actually, fishiculture as a revolution during that time. Climate action, life below water. Talk about fish that are depleting. The shark fin trade, the whale trade that happens in Japan. All of that is a huge goal for the UN right now. And then life on land. Very recently, we had the census on tigers, and we found that we only had 2,236 tigers, and there was a huge hue and cry about that. And we had tiger sanctuaries earmarked. People living in the buffer areas were sent out. Now, if somebody is from Ooty, they would know that the collector Innocent Divya, she did a lot of things to make sure that this rule is implemented. Several resorts that came up illegally in Masnagudi were all demolished, and those people sued her, and it's in the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court said she cannot be transferred till the time the case is over. So she is doing something fantastic to conserve tiger population. Peace, justice, and strong institutions. Institutions as in like Rotary, like the UN, the UN, UNICEF, Red Cross, all of those institutions. Partnerships for the goals. You can't do it all alone. Now, if you want to work on climate control, the US has to work with India for climate control. Al Gore was vice president 10, 15 years back when we started talking about global warming, and he was in India to promote it as well, because India was one of the largest producers of carbon monoxide and all the ozone layer depleting gases like CFC and all of that. And our own Sirutuli in Coimbatore is doing yeoman service in terms of making Coimbatore green again. So these are all sustainable development goals. If you work on any one of them, it has a ripple effect, and it's a cycle. It keeps giving back in other ways as well. And that's what we see in the next slide. It's called the triple bottom line effect. You get profit from economy, but how far are you depleting the planet or the environment because you want to be profitable? At one point of time, Sirumugai had a flourishing business. If you remember, the viscose factory, what they did was cut down all the trees that were in Nilgiris, bring it down here and make it as fabric. They never bothered about deforestation. For every tree that you cut, you need to plant 10 seedlings. Otherwise, how will you sustain it? And that's not good enough. And what did they do for the people around them? Now, Sirumugai people who were part of that factory are jobless right now. They had to go search for some other job. So it's not sustainable. You have to put all of these circles together and make sure that you make the project sustainable, whatever industry you are in. So all of you MBA graduates are going to be, getting out into the corporate world in the next 2 years. So you have to choose your job. Is it worth joining and working, 10 hours, 12 hours, you never know, for a company that does not care about the environment, that does not care about the people, does not care about how much you earn. All they are caring about is how much they can pocket and go. So it has to be a synergic reaction or cooperation between the three ideas of profit, planet, and people. They call it the three P's. And when all of these come together is when you can have a sustainable reaction. As I said, it's a triple bottom line approach. So uh, when you're looking at a project, whether it's a company that produces something or sells services, it has to be socio-environmental, it has to be socio-economic, and it also has to be economic with efficiency, without which we would not be able to attain sustainability in any of the initiatives. So when you guys join companies in 2 years' time, you have to look at what that organization's vision is, what is their mission is. Every company has to do CSR right now, so and we have to report it on our website also. So you have to look out for that, and see if your ideas match. Only if that does, you join that company, and whatever you're contributing to the success of the company is sustainable if that happens. Otherwise, you can work with anybody, but end result is nothing. You're not giving back anything to the community. So every action that you do needs to give back something to the community that you come from. Otherwise, it's only selfish on each and every one of our part to engage in a business that only thinks about profit for oneself and does not think about the society, the economy, or the environment. So this is a study done by the Princeton University, and that's why I took that slide from them and pasted it here. Um, okay, so what are the sustainable development goals that we just saw? The UN General Assembly's open working group, they did these 17 goals, and each of these goals have 169 targets, and they can be broadly classified under people, dignity, prosperity, justice, partnership, and planet. So if any business takes up a CSR activity, it has to be among these heads with the 169 targets that can come about. And those are the areas where any company can do CSR on. So I don't know how many countries there are in the world. I think about 195 countries, out of which 193 countries adopted the sustainable development goals at the summit held in 2015. We are far ahead. In fact, we are pioneers in CSR even before these SDGs came into being. And the leaders came up with an agenda. What are we going to do this year, next year? How are we going to promote these goals and all of that? It's a call for action for all countries, by all countries. Like I said, it has to be synergic cooperation. US cannot do climate control by itself. It has to involve developing countries like the Brazils, the Indias, in order to be successful globally. Otherwise, something happening at one end of the world will definitely affect the other end. Now, we contribute to global warming. So the temperatures of all the oceans waters are increasing. resulting in Arctic ice melting down, huge glaciers melting, which in turn increases the water levels. And several countries that are below sea level get affected because of that. So we have to be cautious and make sure projects that we do are sustainable. So there's a network called Global Compact Network, or UNGC. Um, they came up with the reporting requirement. Now is when we are starting with the governing of CSR, providing a business perfect perspective as countries identify local priorities and national action plans for sustainable development goals. Because it's not enough to just give the goals. People also should find it reasonably profitable and fair, because you can't ask a company to spend 50% of all its profits for CSR, right? So each company needs to come up with its own rules and priorities, and also priorities change by country. For us, renewable energy is a big thing, because you might have seen in a lot of WhatsApp forwards that petrol in some countries is just 6 rupees, but when it comes to India, it is 85 rupees. Why? So we have to look at renewable energy, and there was a huge wave that started in 2014 or 15 to transform to renewable energy when Modi started off that huge solar power plant, which is the largest in the entire world. Um, that was a huge hit, and then we had all of these windmills that came up in and around Coimbatore that contributed to the factory sharing the responsibility, facilitating partnerships and other collective action projects. And this is to implement the sustainability development goals. As I mentioned, no country can do it separately. No organization can do it separately also. You have to interact with other organizations in order to be sustainable in your projects. And then the third most important thing is promoting accountability measures, and then also reporting on progress. Now, one thing that our government is doing is the strict follow up of all the rules, and the scrutiny of all the reports that are generated in terms of CSR that companies are required to make. Because without governance, everything, all the efforts that we've taken so far will go waste. Now, the next slide is about CSR alignment with SDGs. So, businesses cannot prosper in a world that is plagued with poverty. See, if you have people who are poor and you want to have them work for you without thinking about elevating their economic situation, if you're doing a business, that is stealing from those people. That is taking advantage of the economic status of those people. So our role in an organization, as an MBA graduate, as a manager or an intern that you are going to join in a company, our role should be to ensure that the work we do elevates the economic position of any employee that works for us. You have to, eradicate inequality. Right. That is why India has this rule. You cannot discriminate in terms of sex. Whether male or female, they get equal opportunity to work in a company. I'm proud to say in Persona we have about 45% women working for us. Violence, domestic violence, huge thing, and environmental stress. One example is the viscose factory that I just cited. Um, so India spent over $600 million, that is 5,780 crores in 2014-15. in CSR. So we are well ahead in terms of CSR. Hence, for companies doing well and doing good simultaneously is of paramount importance. It adds to your brand value as well. See, Adithya School of Business is doing good because even during pandemic, even during days that we are not able to go to the college and attend classes, we are organizing virtual sessions where you can still enhance your knowledge, continue your learning journey and come out successful in life. So that increases the brand image. There are schools that I know of, especially business schools, that were started just for the business motive of earning more money. For many of these educators, mm, education has become a business, unfortunately. So education should be charitable. It has to be accessible by everybody. Of course, business school is a different thing, but then like we do for the tribal kids, they are left on their own. Nobody cares about their education. So we need to make sure. And I'm happy and satisfied that my brand is able to contribute something to that. So why we do that? Because we align ourselves to the um, SDGs. So when we go back to SDG here, right? So if you can put the projects that Personiv is doing in several of these, no poverty. Of course, we're trying to provide them alternative forms of employment by teaching them sewing and all of that. Zero hunger, we have not taken it up because that becomes a huge project for us and we would not be able to sustain it by ourselves. Um, Clean water and sanitization, we do that. Sanitation, we do in schools through Rotary. Rotary has this wash in schools um, project. Washing hands is so important, and we learned it the hard way when COVID hit us. Every person has to wash his hands very frequently, at least for 20 seconds. And Rotary has been doing this for like 4 5 years already, maybe more, I'm not sure. But then clean water and sanitation is an important project that Rotary does after these goals were formed. Affordable and clean energy, of course, we are doing that. And we have about 15 solar power plant installations in Coimbatore, Gurugram, and Manila put together in the past 5 years. Each of them at least 5 kilowatt. So you can imagine how much we have given back to the society. Um, and that comes under climate action as well because it is renewable energy. So somewhere I saw education also, the quality education, and we are trying to do that for tribal kids who are left on the lurch and fend for themselves. So every company that needs to create a brand value is required to do all these things. If not by law, it should be by our own conscience that we go ahead and implement some socially responsible projects that give back to the society. In turn, they increase our brand value. And actually, that's not a given, but then if it happens, it's a great thing. So that's how our CSR needs to be aligned with the sustainable development goals. So, what is social responsibility? Corporate social responsibility is the continuing commitment by business to contribute to economic development while improving the quality of life of the workforce and their families, as well as of the community and society at large. Now, there is also a rule which says if you're continuing to do what you do for your employees, you cannot call that CSR. You have to do something that affects the community at large. Supposing you are providing a lunch for the employees that come to the office, that's not CSR. It's part of work. You are providing them food so they can work the next half. So that cannot be taken as corporate social responsibility. There should be something that improves the quality of life of the community. And that's why, as part of CSR projects, people have solar lighting provided to villages, toilets being constructed, because open defecation is a big thing in India, and we want to eradicate that and clean the environment. um, Renewable energy that's used to provide for the homes that are built around these factories, also schools that are built, hospitals, affordable healthcare. These are all part of CSR activities that improve the quality of life of communities at a large. And there is a pyramid. All MBA students will learn something or the other about pyramids in your classes. Of course, you will have the Maslow's theory coming up. I don't know if you've already read it. That's an important part. Here is Carroll's CSR pyramid. So it starts with economic responsibilities. So when you're starting a company, or when you're joining an organization, one of the most important things that you start to work is economic responsibility. You have a responsibility towards your family, towards yourself, towards the place where you studied. Maybe you have taken a loan to complete your education. So these are economic responsibilities that you need to fulfill, and that's why you start a company or join a company. And then there are the legal responsibilities. Obey the law, um, in whatever we do. Like I said, when I started, there were several things that my company did not do 10 years back that I wanted to change. And I also mentioned there were about 150 people working for us. Only 32 of them were on the rolls and were paid PF. The rest of them were just like contract laborers. They could be fired anytime. There is no social responsibility at all from the management side. They were not paid PF, ESI, no benefits, nothing. Now I've changed all of that because it's a legal requirement for a company that that has employed people, not to swindle all the money, but make sure people are happy and they are economically responsible, and also abide by some rules, because my brand value is at stake. So every employee here at Personiv, right now I have about 750. One point I had about 1,300, and then we keep losing business, gaining some, losing some. It's all in the business. So right now have about 750 employees. All of them have PF, all of them have ESI. Sorry, not all of them. Anybody who's earning up to 21,000 has ESI benefits. People above that have separate private healthcare coverage, accident coverage for everybody, and proper healthy workspace that is safe as well. So we need to make sure that we adhere to legal responsibility. You can also say that as a moral responsibility. For somebody who's running a company like me, it's a moral responsibility that I need to provide these things to keep my employees happy, healthy, safe, and secure. For companies that don't have a moral responsibility is when legal responsibility comes in, right? I might not be so forthcoming in providing all these benefits to my people, but the government makes sure that I do that. I better do that, because um, we are doing business in India. India's brand value is at stake. It's not like the mills in Bangladesh, where US has banned imports from in terms of textiles. So because they employ people in very dingy factories, no space for them, not enough rest time, and all of that. Whereas companies like KPR in Coimbatore, they employ women from rural villages, bring them in here. They provide education, provide safe living spaces, take care of their health. So these are all moral responsibilities. And if some companies don't do that, then legalities come in. And then ethical responsibilities. I must have talked about moral responsibilities now, but then, um, in my opinion, moral comes before legal. Um, I need to be fair and make sure what I'm doing is the right thing to do before looking at the law. Law will always come in and say, okay, this is the right thing to do. But as an individual, each and every one of us who's going to become a manager, you don't need to be a head of an institution. Even if you are a individual contributor, you need to think about this in every day of your life. What am I doing? Is it right? Is it the best thing I can do? Is it fair to all concerned? Is it the truth? Rotary also has these four-way tests. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it bring goodwill and better friendships? After that, you have bylaws and laws and legalities that take care of it. So I have this difference of opinion with this pyramid, but still, um, when there is a rule of law, I'm sure people will find way to break the rule of law. But then comes the moral responsibility, and then philanthropic responsibility. I mentioned before that, excuse me, when I introduced myself, I'm a major donor with Rotary, and that's because I've donated a huge sum of money for polio vaccination throughout the world. So the money that I'm giving, I don't know who is it is going to, but because I'm giving through Rotary, I know it will reach the right person, and that's when governance comes in. Rotary, as any other social welfare organization, ensures that there is governance in everything that we do. Um, and when you talk about philanthropy, all of the other needs have to be met. Economic, legal, ethical, all of these needs have to be met for you to go to the next level and be philanthropic. Um, I don't even know how much Azim Premji has given, but the Foundation is a huge thing. They run schools as a CSR initiative. Wipro, which started as a company selling oil, is now running schools as part of CSR, and that's a big business. I'm sorry, not a business. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used that word. It's a big project that Azim himself is taking over, and left his son to take care of the business. Um, I had the privilege of working with Wipro BPO in 2002, and I met Azim Premji. He's a very down to earth person, and he's so content with what he has. He's very simple. um, he doesn't flash it. Of course, when you go to a certain level, then there are certain needs that unfortunately you have to get done. Like, sometimes when I have back-to-back appointments for meetings and all that, it's difficult for me to drive around the city and also be calm at the same time. So I have a driver that I need to use, but I can always set aside some money to do philanthropy. So Wipro Foundation is a very good example of how you can be responsible that way as well. And every step of the way, governance is very important. Let's talk about CSR laws in India. In April 2014, so India passed a law mandating CSR investment, and that is about 2%. Um, and this is before any other company could do it in uh, any part of the world. So this was made to make companies discharge their social responsibility through their innovative ideas and management skills. There is a company called Cognizant, if you guys remember. They have office in Coimbatore, and just like I did, when I sent my people to work from home during the pandemic, I had about 240 computers that lay idle in the office because I had to give these employees laptops. So these desktop computers became idle. What I did, I distributed those 240 computers to 10 schools across Coimbatore. Now, Cognizant is doing the same thing. They have 2,000 computers in Coimbatore alone. So um, this is an innovative idea that we can use to reach out to the schools, and school students can start learning computer science or have access to e-learning, have access to the multiple resources that we have in terms of libraries, research papers, this and that. And this opened up opportunity to leverage traits unique to corporates, including rigor, the ability to innovate, and the willingness to collaborate, which potentially could lay the groundwork for greater efficiency and impact. So each company has their own unique idea, and they keep doing it. Cognizant, how they started? Every weekend, they would send people to slums and have their employees teach those children. Infosys did the same thing. They would adopt a village, especially a slum, go there, take care of the children's education for at least a day or two. And that's exactly what I am following. It could create an impact if big companies like these start doing stuff. Um, so that's the law in India. Now we come to the principles of good governance. See, it cannot be one size fits all for all the companies because it has to fit the culture. Supposing I have employees working for me coming in from several different areas across India, I cannot design a program that will be focused on a small nook inside this city because weekends or weekly offs, I cannot expect my employees to be here. So, supposing um, you get a job in Bangalore and your company has this culture of going to going to a village to teach those kids during the weekly off, but you are from Coimbatore, right? You would rather come to Coimbatore to meet your parents than sit and do CSR work there. So one size does not fit all. You cannot have one rule for all the companies. The governance framework needs to reflect the culture, style, and issues of the organization. So later on in life, I'm not saying that once you finish your MBA, you're going to be part of the CSR committee. No, 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 that's not going to happen. This is just learning for you that you can start implementing, and later on, when you become head of HR or head of marketing, and then you're part of the CSR committee, then you need to look at all of these things when governing is concerned. So it starts from honestly reporting what you are doing. Hiding facts is the worst thing that can happen because when you hide facts, they're still somewhere, and I'm sure they will come out in the open one day or the other. Transparency, be open in whatever you're doing. Accountability is a very huge word, I would say, because it's doing what you're supposed to do when nobody's watching, right? It's very easy to do our work when there is a supervisor sitting on top of our heads, or if you're inside a classroom writing a test and there's no invigilator, if you're not looking at the other person's paper and writing what he is writing, that is accountability. Doing the right thing when nobody is watching. Responsibility. See, once you have finished your education, you're actually free, right? You're free to do what you want till you're about 18, 20, 21. You depend on what your parents are saying. My dad wants me to do this, do that. My mom wants me to do this, do that. But after 20 or 21, you become actually independent. In the US, what they do is once people attain age of 18, they're just chased away from the houses. It's a crime to live with your parents after 18, actually. And there are no arranged marriages in the US like we have in India. So no girl will look into your face if you say that you're living with your parents after 18. So she will look at you only if you are living on your own, earning on your own. So with that freedom comes responsibility. What responsibility? All of these things we talked about right now. First is our economic responsibility, right? You might have taken a loan to go through your MBA education. Now, what are you going to do next? Invest in a flat, buy an apartment, um, buy things that are required to make you comfortable, all of these things, right? So, responsibility. Again, see, the independence and responsibility, they are intertwined. With freedom comes responsibility. Without responsibility, there's no freedom at all. Okay, it's like an animal. Animal is free, but then does it do the right thing? Its only objective in life is to eat, sleep, and reproduce. But we as human beings have a lot of responsibility, and that responsibility is even more important when we are given the freedom. Fairness, I talked about it earlier also. You cannot employ somebody in your organization. You are earning, your profits are like 1 crore rupees, and you have 100 employees, and each one of them is just paid 8,000, 9,000. That's not fair at all. What is the industry average at the moment? Do a study. For example, what we've done, we pay our employees on par with what the big five, the Tatas, the Infosys, the Wipros, the Cognizants, or the Accentures of the world, they pay in Chennai or Bangalore. The only differential that that you will see in Coimbatore is the night shift differential or a city differential. Otherwise, we are on par with good paymasters in large cities. So, is it fair? Yes. And this year there are about 121 employees that complete 5 years in my office, and 10 people who complete 10 years. I'm one of them. In total, we have about 170, 180 people that are more than 5 years in the company. Why? Because they think Personiv has been fair. And how does that affect me? Because I have so many people who are uh, so tenured with me in my company, I can depend on them for the quality. And what is my quality figure? 99.5 and above consistently for the past 5 years. And how does that affect my brand value? My customer is happy that every time I have something to do, um, they will come back to me and say, okay, Fred, let's do this project. I know you will give 100%. And they don't hesitate to refer new customers for me as well. So it all starts within the organization. CSR actually starts within the organization. You don't have to go outside to start it first, and it affects your brand. And then you come to social responsibility. So these are the principles of good governance. I know if you guys go to your library or Google it up, you will get points for each and every one of these subtopics. So I'm not going to deal about them here, but sure, these are the principles of governance that you need to take care. And this is the rule that we have right now for CSR. What you have to do is 2% of the profit if your profit is 5 crores or more. Net profit is after tax. Okay, so that is one rule. Second rule is if your net worth is 500 crore or more. Third one is if your turnover is 1,000 crore or more. So you must have heard of the term MSMEs, SMEs, small and medium enterprise, and then large enterprise. So it affects us depending on the size of the company. If you're a small company, is your profit more than 5 crore a year after tax? Then you spend 2% of that, which would on an average be about 5 lakhs or more. So that's the rule. Let's now go to reporting. Again, another important aspect of governance in CSR. We need to be sure of the CSR policy, um, which is under section 135, and directors report to general meeting to include a report about CSR initiatives as per format. Even the format is prescribed in the rule. Company website to disclose company CSR policy and CSR spends, how much we have spent, needs to be mentioned in the website. You would not see all of this in my website because actually I don't fall under the CSR bracket. If there is a failure to spend the CSR amount, then the board shall in its report specify the reasons. In fact, most of the companies will actually spend more than what they actually budgeted. And very rarely do we see such a scenario where there's a failure to spend, unless there is a project to provide housing for employees that are living in shacks, especially in construction sites or uh, you know construction sites like the dams. It's a huge investment for how many ever years. So providing proper um, accommodation for them could be a CSR project. For example, hydropower projects where you have dams that are generating power, then you have to have proper place for people to stay, and then the families to be engaged. For example, hospitals, schools, and all of that. Excuse me. Now we are coming to the activities that are not covered under CSR. CSR projects benefiting only the employees of the companies. As I mentioned before, if you are going to provide lunch for your employees during their shift timing, you cannot claim that as a CSR project. One-off event, like if you're doing an event inaugurating, uh, you know, small dispensary for a village, or a small school building, or a small library. That's a one-off event. You won't do it, on a sustainable basis. That's where sustainability comes in, and that's where you see all of the projects or major projects that I have done have all involved solar power plants, and these are not one-off events, and they are sustainable as well. Expenses incurred for fulfillment of regulations of any other act. So I cannot claim expenses like transportation to the site of the power plant installation as one of the expense under the CSR activity. There is a provision for companies to contribute to political parties. That cannot be considered as CSR. But if you are giving to the Prime Minister's relief fund, that can be considered as CSR. Unfortunately, if you give to the Chief Minister's relief fund, it will not be. And that's a funny take on the law of our land, unfortunately. Activities undertaken by companies in pursuance of its course of normal business. Now, I said, construction of houses for people in construction sites. Now, just the construction of houses alone will not constitute a CSR. But if you include um, the related economy around that place, usually a dam is built in a place where there are forests, there are tribals, there are farmlands that get affected. So, are you doing something to relocate those people, give them alternate ways of economic independence? Are you providing them with medical assistance? Because earlier they just used to cross the river and go to the other side. Now you have built a dam, and then there's a lot of water. How are they going to reach the other side? Are you providing them facilities on this side so they don't have to worry about going to the other side? So all of these things need to be considered. And projects undertaken outside India cannot be reported under CSR. So in my report, I will not include the projects that I've done in Manila. I can only report what I've done in Coimbatore. And unfortunately, RBI also does not allow us to transfer money that easily between countries. So we need to file a lot of reports to get that done. And it's unnecessary work when it comes to governance of that CSR. So these are some of the things I thought I'll share with you regarding governing of social responsibility initiatives. I hope I've been able to satisfy um, all of you in terms of the kind of content that I have shared today. If there are any questions, I can take them. Dr. Sundar, do you have any questions?
So that's some great eye-opening. I was just talking to them about social obligation. That's what you have mentioned. One time doing something which we call it social responsiveness. Just after that, we leave it. There is no consistency or sustainability. Social obligation is all about meeting the economic and ethical and moral expectations of people, like your employee paying salary or giving one-time food. Those things which is we call it obligations, which is very clearly differentiated in your presentation, and keeping the belief, one of the beliefs of Adithya School of Business Management, creating an impact to the society, being a socially responsible leaders is one of the beliefs. So, and we have the great leader in front of us today. That is what it makes me all about. I want to share it here. I'm just, I got an interruption here. So going with light green business to green business or dark green business, which is another part, we have very well highlighted, Doctor, today. So green business is not just looking at only the environment. It is all about how we can make a sustainable business. It's all about, people think it's all about contributing to the society and, contributing to people and so on. Actually, what you give, you're going to get back. That is what, in a nutshell, you have just brought in as employer branding. There is another part. I have another project in that, and I have found a right person, resource person for me. I'm going to work with you, Doctor. I'm so sorry to disturb, but I have no other choice. Very few I could figure it out around, and you are the one, and the president of Rotary Club of Coimbatore. And now I have found it. I will come and meet you when you are free in sometime, Doctor. I wanted to talk about it. It's a project, another project which I have for a long time. I was just trying to find out some source to do it, and I have a right resource in front of me. And thank you so much for being with us. And I personally picked up a lot of points which I wanted to see, that 3 P's you have highlighted and segregated 2 aspects. One is about CSR, social responsibility. The other one is about corporate governance. That is very important. Just people can't do without any governance. That is where the transparency comes in, and all those. Then the resource management, that last thing which I picked up from this is what you spoke about synergy also. So what I was thinking about something, and from you I picked up something. Now we have a synergic destination where transformational leadership, which you are bringing to the community, to the people, and through the transnational culture which you wanted to practice. So these are the 2 different areas, big aspects. Transnational. We wanted to train these people to be transnational personalities, and you are that one example. You practice, you get the resources all around the world and give it around the world from wherever, whatever possible, balancing it all about. That's a great contribution that only can be done, only it's possible through with the heart and soul contribution. Nothing more, just by doing, just by the name, we can't do that. Without that heart and soul and the living with that as an example, it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be possible by the, then the right word to put it, it's not going to be possible. And you are the transnational personality and transformational leader. And you are with us today, Dr. Fred, and I'm so happy. And it's our honor and pleasure having you with us today. And thank you so much, Dr. Fred, and your time and energy and the efforts you put in. And it's really, really remarkable and very valuable. And we are so honored, our students and the academic community and the management of Adithya School of Business Management. We are so grateful to you in particular and to Personiv as well. Doctor, thank you so much for gracing this occasion. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you,
Anything
Dr.
you wanted to share, one or two statements, or otherwise?
Yeah, thank you for having me here today. And I take it as a great privilege to, talk to students because students are our future. If we taught our children how to follow traffic rules, they would be better citizens in the future. So just like that, what better way than to talk to management graduates, undergraduates, before they hit the corporate world and tell them what to do and how to do it in a better way than wait for them to make a mistake and realize it later in life. I think it's a part of sustainable development as well. And
Yes,
you
that's right.
the right thing by having somebody from the corporate world come and talk to your students because we have seen it the hard way. Nobody came to us when we studied and told us this is how corporate life is going to be, or this is what you can expect when you make it big in corporate world. So, thank you for giving me that opportunity. I hope all of the students who were part of this session, I thought I saw about 33 of them, including
Yeah.
you and I. So, I hope all the 31 students get at least a small benefit out of what they heard today and look out for opportunities to do better in the world that will come up, right onto their faces when they get into corporate life. Thank you so much for
Thank
the
you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Fred. We will try to work with you, whatever possible ways and means, and we will, we'll come back to you. Doctor. Thank you so much, and have a
Thank you.
great day ahead. And we'll meet up again. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Bye bye.
Bye bye.